This video is brought to you by Straight Goods News, Canada's alternative online news source. Visit straightgoods.ca.
Well, farmers don't want to give up, and they shouldn't give up on this. The fact of the matter is the most accurate attempt to gauge producer opinion was the Canadian Wheat Board's survey, conducted independently by a very distinguished accounting firm of Myers Norris Penny, conducted according to very stringent rules to ensure fairness, clear-cut question, no ambiguity, no fuzzification of what was being asked, and the result showed 62% in favor of the single desk for wheat and 51% in favor of the single desk for barley. Farmers need to stand firm by that result and keep lobbying this government to come to their senses. The government needs to understand that they've got some political skin in the game. And if you think back 1 year, this government was going hell-bent to selling off Saskatchewan's potash industry. And at the last minute, it dawned on them that they had some political risk, some political skin in the game, and they did a 180-degree turn and actually moved against the sale of potash. And farmers need to raise that level of awareness and concern this time with respect to the Canadian Wheat Board. They've had, just in the last week, nearly 30,000 individuals responding to their advertising campaigns, sending in complaints to the government. They're lobbying the Senate today. The two legal actions are proceeding, and that's interesting. You sort of ask, why is the government so bloody-minded about ramming this through, saving every precious minute before they can ram their legislation through? Well, they're worried that they're going to get a court judgment from one of those two courts that are looking at this matter that will say the government is behaving illegally, because, in fact, they are behaving illegally.
You mentioned potash, but there you had a provincial government going in favor of potash or against it.
And there's one here as well. The government of Manitoba feels very strongly about this issue, and Premier Sellinger is very much engaged, as are his ministers and his caucus. It won't be an easy fight, because this is a very bloody-minded government, but the fact of the matter is it ain't over till it's over, and farmers need to keep fighting.
Well, compared to 4 years ago, you used to have the Saskatchewan government on your side. Now you don't. And the Alberta government, I mean, in the parliamentary hearings, the Alberta minister and the Saskatchewan minister were pretty sanguine about it. They didn't really mind some of the Manitoba government.
Well, and the same was largely the case in potash as well. It was 2-1 in that case. But there's it's not the provincial government view that is the most critical here. It's the view of farmers, and that's the position we've taken from the very start. I have my own personal opinion about the value added that comes to the Canadian economy because of the Canadian Wheat Board. But it's not the opinion of politicians or bureaucrats that matters here. What matters is the opinion of farmers, what farmers want. The law says the Canadian Wheat Board is a democratically controlled producer organization, and producers need to decide this under Section 47(1) by a fair democratic vote. And that's what should happen, and that's what we need to keep fighting for. And the Senate actually has an opportunity here to provide some very decent second sober thought.
On supply management, Conservatives control the Wheat Board as easily as they think they can. What do you think is going to happen to supply management?
Supply managed farmers should pay very, very close attention to the government's double speak on agriculture. They say one thing and they do another. That was abundantly clear in the case of the Wheat Board. It was just last March, just before the election, when Mr. Ritz was saying about the Wheat Board, he wouldn't act arbitrarily. He would allow farmers the democratic opportunity to have their say, and then as soon as the election was over, he runs over them like a freight train, denying them their democratic rights. Now the government is saying to supply managed farmers, don't worry, be happy, everything will be fine. We can say to the Americans and the Pacific Rim countries that we're putting supply management on the table, and then wink, wink, nudge, nudge, oh, we really didn't mean it. Well, beware. This is a government that cannot be trusted when it comes to agricultural policy in particular, and our marketing systems especially. Mark, do you want to deal with that in French as well?
Oui, en fait, on est ici pour défendre la gestion de l'offre. Certainement, quand le gouvernement dit qu'il va mettre ça sur la table, on le croit. Et je crois que les fermiers, une 20 000 fermiers qui sont dans la volaille, les œufs, les produits laitiers, devraient surveiller de très près ce que le gouvernement est prêt à concéder.
No. the government said today, essentially, that in terms of the Pacific trade negotiations, they can have their cake and eat it too. That's what they were really trying to sell, that bill of goods, that you can be on both sides of this supply management issue. Say one thing to farmers domestically, there's no problem, and say another thing to the U.S. and the other trading partners that, oh yeah, supply management's on the table, don't worry. I mean, they're trying to have it both ways, and that's exactly what they're trying to say to prairie farmers. Don't worry, we can abolish the single desk, and you can still have the Canadian Wheat Board. Well, that's an absolute non sequitur. The Canadian Wheat Board is the single desk. If you abolish the single desk, you don't have the Canadian Wheat Board, period.